Here we go. Game 2 in this best of 9 Norwegian Community Tournament. Silver League, Aksel the Great versus Myzel. Both 1500 plus players, high 1500s I'd say. You could also write exclamation mark rank and the player's nickname in chat if you want to know their current rankings. So we have Aksel the Great's home map here, going with Lithuanians for this one. I like that pick. You have the mobility in the fantastic knights and later on cavaliers, and paladins that Lithuanians can make. But one specific thing for 4 lakes for Lithuanians that Aksel actually isn't doing here, but that you could do, which was sort of developed by a survivalist, is that you send your first 5 villagers straight to wood, and then start. You could still produce villagers from the TC because you start with 150 extra food. Then you go for the wood line with 5 villagers instantly, and you drop the dock ASAP, start producing fish, and that should facilitate your food income to actually click Castle Age with 23 villagers or so, and still be able to consistently produce fish, food income, and spam knights in the Castle Age at 13.5 minutes maybe, and you'll be sitting at over 30 population already upon reaching Castle Age still. So that's a unique build order for Lithuanians for 4 lakes. Doesn't seem to be Aksel the Great's idea here though, so maybe he hasn't seen Survivalist's build order for Lithuanians on 4 lakes. On Myzel's side, we had Myzel with the Celts. Maybe we're seeing some Huang style play here with some early Drush militia with quite a few of them, or just a somewhat fast castle with Celts into their ridiculously strong siege with mangonels and pikes and everything. Myzel likes his pike siege push, and he usually adds monks as well, so we should be expecting something like that. Alright, see you around Blackadder's place. Thanks again. Hope you had a good stream as well. Couple of houses going on up for Myzel here. He is decent scouting around the space, going to start the walling already with a couple of useful houses here, and probably going to opt for the full walls again. Maybe all the way over to the other pond as well, who knows. Fishing is essential on 4 lakes though. There's just so much free food to be taken here. See that Aksel the Great is quick walling in his villager as well, just so that the unknown villager will not go down to any enemy scout moving close. Could talk a little bit about the maps as well. This hill could be either useful or a disaster for Myzel here, considering that it would be a perfect spot for a forward castle for the Imperial Age push here with traps. If you place the castle here, for example, you'd range the gold and you'd render that gold useless for Myzel. On Aksel's side as well, we have some hills not too far off the base as well. That's just such a nice point to fall back to take that fights on the hills and make use of that small 25% extra damage from attacking downhill. Gold here, main gold, sort of in the back, so that's good news for Aksel the Great. He has some pretty wide open area. It's not easy to full wall 4 lakes. Usually you'd have a long distance between the wood lines. So, but generally you see players full wall very early on 4 lakes due to the distance. Yeah, it was annoying as we couldn't get all games live. Yeah, I'm casting from Rex for this one, thankfully, but I know the live issue. I was casting some live yesterday, and when there was a restore, there was suddenly 10 minutes spec delay, so that kind of breaks the flow a little bit, to say the least. Yeah, that's the risk of casting live, but then again, people tend to prefer live. It's a bit more interesting to follow a live match, after all. Dock goes up for Myzel a bit later than Aksel here. Note the villager difference. Aksel already with 3 fishing ships out and potentially another villager as well. I'm not sure. Maybe Myzel has gone for loom here. He has indeed for the walling. He is investing heavily into the walls on this side and will be completing probably some extensive ones like this as the game progresses. Yeah, really committing to the walls here, Myzel. 1, 2, 3 villagers walling. And Akkal-AOE is already on the way to the food ledge. He might be thinking about the scouts here potentially, but is also considering the population set up nicely for something of a fast castle here. 5 fishing ships is not adding any more for now, but he's gone to gold. So maybe we will indeed be seeing maybe just a few scouts for scouting and map control, but all in all, we should be seeing Akkal-AOE reaching the cast stage a bit faster here. Aksel is forward with the scout now. Then takes his time to scout the enemy here. I think he pushed in the deer, one deer at least as well, and we'll see some builders here, but they are walled, and the scout is weakened already for Aksel the Great, so not much he can do here. He could poke a little bit at the walling villagers, but he won't really be able to stop the walls in time. There is indeed a stable going up here. And looking at the walls, Aksel might not invest into the scouts now. He may as well just extend a little bit more into the economy and aim for the fast castle and double stables knights instead. But there's still this side here to be walled, which Myzel hasn't gotten around to yet. He will be using the Fisher woman here to finish this last section. Very, very ambitious walls from Myzel here, but they seem to be going up, and the barracks is here for defensive purposes as well, once any mountain units start coming forward for Aksel the Great. But from the looks of it, Aksel the Great will be going straight for the castle age instead, and setting up for the Lithuanians knights for the game to move on. Now, one thing about Myzel's walls here is that even this relic is outside, so all 5 relics are outside of Myzel's walls. Should be some of them up for grabs for Aksel the Great for sure. Looks like full walls are in progress for Aksel the Great as well. The berries are very exposed in the front here actually. But the walls kind of still funnel the aggression in towards the TC from this side. And no apparent forward from Myzel just yet. He's dropping an archer range now. And is thinking about, well, he has something inside his barracks as well. That is a spearman, so maybe some spears and archers to go forward and try and hit, for example, this woodline, which is definitely within feudal fletched archers' range here. Seems a bit dangerous though. Myzel is actually pretty far off from that castle click, and or well, not far off, but going to be very far behind Aksel the Great here in the up times. One stray spearman from Aksel the Great forward. I'm not sure if why he even had it in this guy. Could be for scouting purposes maybe, or to defend against the starting scout of Myzel for the docking to the north here. Aksel on the way to take another pond here once the wood permits. Going to extend that food economy and water and make Knight's production a lot easier. Still only one stable though. Second TC going up. So Aksel mainly playing the boom game here, but going to add some knights for that map control potential and maybe to guard and contest the relics as well. Myzel with spearmen and a few late archers here, and a forward villager with some plans here. Could be going for this pond, I guess. Myzel really doesn't rush the cast stage click here. He's 60 foot short shy of clicking up. He's committing to more villagers yet, and is setting up for a higher population cast stage here, as he did on Arabia, honestly, behind his fast full walls. So it might actually work out in the end, after all. Here's the second dock from Myzel, so going to extend that fishing ships count. Let's look at the actual fish numbers here. 4 fish for Myzel. Aksel the Great is with 7 for now. And we have some small run-ins here. I don't see this feudal age army doing much. It's archers without fletching, and the spearman could be focused down by the knights with no upgrades like this. Akkal-AOE not stressing the relics though. He's not dropped the 1-3 yet. He's playing mainly the eco here, going for the fish, going for the TC to secure some more of the map here. We'll be getting a kill over here with his 2 knights, and Myzel meanwhile ready to prepare the quick walls behind his palisades here. Not going to let these knights in easily. I feel like this would be a better point of entry for Aksel the Great, because it would be such a much longer walking distance for the villagers to quick wall. They might not actually be able to wall in time on this side. Whereas in the north here, there's already a villager, but Myzel lets them in. That's a bit surprising to see. Castle Age on the way, and Blacksmith gets delayed though, or denied rather. Myzel down total of 8 villagers here. And we'll have to rely on quick walling now. A house here, and you direct the knight's pathing kind of towards the TC, but Myzel goes for lots of house walls around here to secure as much of the woodland as possible. Knights will be getting this one though, so that's good value. From Aksel the Great forward already has been getting 2 villagers for 2 knights here. Castage just kicks in for Myzel. He has some spears on the field, goes straight for the pikeman. Obviously enough with the Celts here, has 4 pikes waiting outside as well. So if the knights find an escape somehow, they will be intercepted over here anyway. So looking at the overall ecos here, Aksel the Great seems to be investing more heavily into gold here, going for an archer's follow-up as well. And I absolutely see crossbows in a company. If you can afford it, if you have both knights and crossbows, it's just all that much tougher for the opponent to deal with it, because your skirms won't be able to deal with the crossbow with the enemy crossbows, because the enemy will have knights as well. And crossbows could snipe enemy pikemen, so it's a pretty large wood investment to go, or gold investment rather, to go into both crossbows and knights, but on 4 legs with all these neutral resources everywhere, it's absolutely an option. Aksel already has 2 pawns, Myzel has 2 as well. He's with a total of 7 fish, whereas Aksel has 11. So the food eco is undeniably stronger for Aksel the Great here. Takes a siege workshop on the hill, has seen the archery range of Myzel, so knows that some kind of siege is coming here. I'd say that Scorpions is the play here, since there are both archers and pikes in the field, although the Scorpions have less effect against buildings as compared to mangonels. It is indeed a mangonel again for Aksel the Great. The military numbers are roughly similar here, but Myzel might not expect crossbows from the Lithuanians player here. And with their Botkin arrow in, no defense, but Botkin arrow, you could easily stop this woodland, and that's almost the only wood access that Myzel has. He did drop a TC over here, so he has some wood access, but Myzel seriously forced onto the defensive now. May have been a little bit too greedy with the walling here, because he was much later up. He's already 20 villagers down. Nice mangonel shot though, nice defensive mangonel. And the faster working Celtic mangonels could take anyone off guard here. Aksel still has a pretty decent eco to support whatever he's doing though. He's with a significant lead here. Overall they're both on 2 TCs as far as I know as well. No, it's 3 for Myzel actually, so he might catch up. But Lithuanians mangonels here will be in a good spot to pressure TCs this close to the walls. And looking at the stone count as well, Aksel could place a castle over here or simply on the hill. Maybe on the hill is a better idea to restrict expansion from Myzel from different angles here. Myzel did drop a dock in the north though. Does he know that Aksel is already here? He does indeed, or he will see it now if he didn't already. Could even convert the fishing villager here if you want to. Forward modern tree for Aksel the Great. Lithuanians have a full monk tech tree, so they are most definitely a cavalry and monk civilization. Gets a nice hit in on the pikes here as well, but with the pikes chasing the mangonel, the mangonel will probably go down here without any support from archers or a couple of knights or whatever here. Where they count is 1 for Myzel, and I think he just picked up another one. So he's denying the relics of the Lithuanians player here. 1 for 1 here for the mangonels. Faster firing Celtic mangonel, but all in all not working out enough. Here comes a knight inside. No upgrades either for the Knights of Aksel the Great, so no huge knights investment here just yet. I'm surprised to see him not trying to focus on the mangonel, but that's probably because of the TC here. We'll look for some sneaky snipes on the golds instead. 3 weak wielders here. We might see 3 wielders go down here for Myzel. And again, Aksel the Great is fortifying his wielder lead here. He is now with 3 TCs, probably has been for a little while. Myzel with a forward siege workshop that probably won't go up anytime soon. There is a little bit of water fighting in the north though, but Aksel has docked the south as well, something that Myzel has recognized, immediately going into the galleys for defense here. 3 mangonels for Myzel now, going to try and fend off to the best of his ability here. And these crossbows are in serious danger. Dodges a little bit here, but loses 2 in the process here. As a knight comes forward to try and punish these 3 mangonels stacked on top of each other. It's actually just 2, never mind. But yeah, with the TC here to provide cover fire, I don't see this knight getting more than 1 mangonel here. If Myzel garrisons, that is. That's 2. That's conversion, yeah, of course. Myzel with monks at the ready now has Lithuanians knights with no upgrades whatsoever to his services here. Castle going up on the hill easily for Aksel the Great here will restrict access to this relic from Myzel as well. Myzel already with 2 relics, but severely down in villager numbers here. It's 69 to 100 villagers here. Slightly more military for Aksel the Great as well. Aksel has to be patient in the north here though, needs more than 1 fire galleys to deal with this, maybe a couple of demo ships or just get into war galley could be an option as well to fight against these with stronger ships overall. Yep, Myzel making use of his converted knight here, but also 1 mangonel going down for nothing for Myzel in the north here. I'm going to get a villager kill. That's not going to be of significance here with 106 to 73 for Aksel the Great. He simply has much more fluent economy working for him. Also making use of fire galleys here. Myzel with 2 docks though could outnumber Aksel the Great here, as Aksel the Great is going into a trade cog. Alright. Classic hotkey mistake here, but there's no army here from Myzel, so I might as well just use it. Oh! Oh! I need to see this. Hey, start trading, you imbecile. Alright, false plans here. There we go. What? Oh, he deleted it. Could have traded. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, another converted knight up north here, but Aksel with his own monk to reconvert. We have the Lithuanian knights with +1 now, probably a relic. But Myzel has knight 3 relics as well, so there won't be too much of a relic bonus for Aksel the Great overall. Myzel going first to the Imperial Age, but with almost 50 villagers down to Aksel the Great, so not going to be fantastic here. Looks like Myzel wants to go into the men-at-arms line here, the swordsman line. I mean, the Celts have great infantry, so why not? But it doesn't quite apply against Lithuanians, Knights, soon to be Cavaliers, and maybe even Paladins here. And definitely not against crossbows either, so I don't quite understand Myzel's Men-at-Arms switch here. Lots of map control for Aksel the Great here now. He has 3 pawns, essentially now, and actually reclaim this one as well. Could start targeting the fish of Myzel as well, or even the dock. But looking at all the red on the map, it's a great position for Aksel the Great with almost 2000 score lead at this stage of the game. Being 30% slower to aim doesn't matter all too much right now. Myzel with the demolition draft here now might want to try and get a hit on the fishing ships here to get some value back on water. We have some extension near the barracks with a mix of pikes and men-at-arms inside here, whereas Aksel the Great is getting bloodlines and topping up on the crossbows as well, and adding some more siege and another castle on the hill here. So I might be calling it too soon, but looking at this kind of map control for Aksel the Great and an eco lead that he admittedly has, especially in the wood situation here, I think this should be Aksel's game. He could simply go into... Well, now he has crossbows to deal with enemy halberdiers. He has some decent crossbow masses. It's 48 to 27 military. Myzel with pretty ridiculous mass of capped rams here, though, so... Without enough mounted units here from Aksel, this castle might go down. Let's see, 8 cavalry total for Aksel the Great here. Villagers helping out, crossbows going to try and snipe the halberdiers or mounted units as soon as they pop out as well. So monks here to try and convert the knights mainly. Myzel with 5 monks, always monks from Myzel, but they risk getting hit downhill by mangonels here. So poor monk getting hit by the catapult there. Repairs, good repair effort from Aksel the Great here, using the mangonels to hit the rams as well. And halberdiers will pop out, but there are crossbows here to deal with those, so shouldn't be too bad of a loss for Aksel the Great here. And this is where the battle is going on. The castle stays up. 8 capped rams from the Celts wasn't enough siege rams, and maybe it would have worked. Stays close here now with crossbows near the barracks. There's some mix of men-at-arms and swordsman in there. And the Celt Mangonel fires deceivingly fast, so gets one hit in on the archers group here, but Aksel the Great now with a steady flow of what's soon to be Cavaliers is getting bracer for his crossbows as well, so we'll have 5+3 range. This castle is not a hinder because there are 2 castles on the hill for Aksel the Great to produce trebs to deal with this castle from uphill, and yeah. It's simply going to be a Trebor won by Aksel the Great here, because he has more means to produce trebuchets than Myzel does. Myzel refuses to give up though, has some expansion down here to the wood line. I think it did take out the fish here with the fire galley and maybe the demo, but doesn't seem to mind too much for Aksel the Great. He still has a 50 villager lead or so here, and is going to keep pushing relentlessly here on Myzel's home base. Longswords coming in from Myzel now. He might be thinking about a siege longsword push here, going into Celtic siege rams, maybe with Furor Celtica in the mix if he can afford it. But looking at the eco overall, doesn't look too bright for Myzel here. He's spending a lot, obviously, he's queuing up a lot of units, but Aksel the Great has just so much more in the bank. He has stone for even another castle as well. Could drop a castle here if he deals with the mangonels and the unit presence here. And if you can get the castle up on the hill here, that castle could even deal with Myzel's castle, because Aksel has bracer, Myzel has no range upgrades whatsoever. So if you build a castle, for example, here, okay, so that's on the hill. I don't think that's in range, even with bracer, but it's still a good castle to assume even more over the hill here and force the battles to maybe go down elsewhere. Battering ram to push from this side, some stables for the light cavalries, and just more and more map control kicking in for Aksel the Great. Myzel with some villagers over here. Not going to drop a castle, or are they? Yeah, they are. Okay. Well, I don't see this as an issue for Aksel the Great because he still has lots of stables producing. He could just send Light Cav or Cavalier in here to stop this castle. Myzel calls the GG. Little bit too ambitious walls here for his later castle uptime here from Myzel, but still a good game contesting the pawns and defending as best he could here. And it goes to a 1-1 here between these two. Army domination for Aksel the Great here, taking the hill as should be as well. 3 castles total, you don't easily push that back from downhill. Overall eco score better for the Lithuanians player, no surprise there either. Fuel age, castle age, much quicker for Aksel the Great, 14.5 minutes. And then the relics, 2 relics in the end, so a bit stronger than the generic knights after all. And finally, yeah, Citadel and Village tab here, not too much difference in the Imperial Ages, the largest difference being Aksel the Great going to imp with 40 more villagers.